Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today I'm going to be playing a new game. I feel like I've been doing that quite a bit lately with a lot of first impression videos. They seem to do well view-wise, but at the same time, I think something I used to do a lot of was Let's Plays, and I haven't done quite as many of those lately. I've still been kind of trailing along with the Civil War General series. Not really happy with the format that I have going with that, so we'll see. I don't know if continuing to repost a month-old live stream at this point without any additional commentary is the best way to go about it, but we'll see. With that being said, obviously today you are not looking at Civil War Generals 2. You are looking at Stellaris, which is, I think it's still Paradox's new... Oh, no, it's not. It's not the newest game out by Paradox Development Studios. It's actually the second oldest, newest, with Hearts of Iron 4 being the newest. But Stellaris is a 4X space simulation game. It is similar in many ways to Distant Worlds, although I would say prettier and with a better user interface and a better AI, although a somewhat simpler game experience. It allows you to choose from a selection of empires and races and kind of the ability to customize your race to different kind of traits. For example, here you can see I've actually created my own society. It's called Making History Great Again. We have created a xenophile character trait with a military dictatorship as its government, and it is a fanatic militarist society. So xenophiles, afraid of other races, while at the same time fanatically militant and a military dictatorship. So none of this democracy nonsense. You can also have other characteristics that you choose between, such as things like being nomadic, which gives you different buffs, and quick learners. There's other things that are negative traits as well. And you can choose from some initial starting point settings, like what kind of main weapons do you have. In terms of setting your galaxy up, you have a lot of control there as well. In this realm, it's very similar to Distant Worlds in my book, where you can choose your galaxy size of up to 1,000 stars. You can choose the type of galaxy shape, the number of empires, etc., etc., etc. This video is more of a impressions of Stellaris from myself and less here's how you play it. So I don't want you to, this isn't here you do X, Y, or Z, but this is just kind of my initial impressions of Stellaris. And admittedly, Stellaris came out a couple of months ago, and I haven't really touched it much. I did a live stream of it the other day, which won't be up on my channel at any time, because I was literally streaming as I was trying to figure things out. I was doing a joint stream with Kushin's Gaming. I'll probably do a follow-on stream with that at some point where we continue the game that we started, but long story short, it was almost all silence because I was really trying to figure the game out, and that's somewhat difficult to do while you're talking. I did feel like within the first hour of playing that game, I was getting a pretty clear sense of how you play the game. It seemed pretty clear, pretty understandable, it wasn't overwhelming. Initially, it was a little bit much, but in essence, this is a very Paradox game. There's a lot of things that they borrow from other games, such as Europea Universalis 4, Crusader Kings, and to a lesser extent Hearts of Iron. But really those big open sandbox games of Europea Universalis and Crusader Kings have a lot of carryover here. So for example, you've got things like research, where you can research different tech trees, but they're not totally linear. What you're allowed to research is somewhat randomized, but they give you different unlocks and the ability to unlock different technologies over time. In essence, the goal is to expand your space empire over as much of the galaxy as possible. You start off with one single planet. In this case, I am in a Earth-like solar system, but you can change that around. And then your goal is, again, to expand. Now, in order to expand, you need to do things like expand resource collection. So you can build mining factories around different stars or around asteroids based on where resources are available. You can build energy collection, which is my understanding is very important to make sure you have sufficient energy supplies. And you can build research stations where you get more additional research, as well as building colony ships to sail out and take over new habitable planets. Research may unlock additional things that allow you to have a wider variety of habitable planets, but in general, your goal is to take over as much of the galaxy as possible. Now, there are also restrictions on how much you can effectively govern. So, for example, up top, you can see there's a green globe, kind of second from the far right of those icons in the very top, and that indicates you can have up to 5 kingdoms or up to 5 planets that you directly rule yourself, and after that, you have to start creating, different sections and whatnot, and it seems to me to be somewhat resembling Crusader Kings, where you've kind of got a Dempsey's limit, where you can directly control a certain number of provinces. It's a little bit different. Admittedly, I'm still somewhat new to the game, so I haven't gotten into the nitty-gritty of the game. I'm mostly in the early to mid stages of my game, but it is, there are certainly similarities there. You can choose to build warships in space. You can modernize those ships. You can customize how those ships are designed. It's not a full ship designer, but in my book, it's good enough. Now, in this video, you can see I'm just going through the early process of getting my new empire set up. So I've got my one planet, Earth. I'm building a couple of additional spacecraft. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sending around a construction ship to different planets and different asteroids and things like that to start mining new resources. And I'm also going to build a second science ship so that I can explore more galaxies. So you have science ships which kind of go around the universe. They're almost like salvage ships because when battles are fought, resources are left behind. So you can use these science ships to research new solar systems. You can use them to kind of scavenge old battlefields and research new kingdoms. They're kind of your jack of all trades, explorer ships. And then you've got these construction ships which go around and they build new facilities in orbit. So if you want a mining colony or something like that, they sail around. And then you've got colony ships, which do exactly what they say. If you want to start a new full-blown colony, you need one of those to go to the habitable planet that you want to set up. There are also military restrictions based on your empire size, so there's kind of a naval fleet limit, which again borrows certain restrictions modeled in other Paradox games. The game, interestingly enough, was very successful out the gate. They sold 200,000 copies, faster than any other Paradox game in history, but I haven't heard much about it lately, so it seems to be one of those games a lot of people rush out and bought. The 4X market seems to be very lucrative, and there's a lot of interest in it, but it also, on the flip side, feels like there may have been a bit of waning interest in the game. It's very simple and easy to approach up front, in my opinion, but it's also one of those games that, it will likely get much, much richer as expansions and DLC are added. With that being said, from a newcomer's perspective and a novice's perspective, the game seems very rich. It seems to have some sort of, history to it. And, it seems like it's trying to spin a certain sort of lore about, a past kingdom that, met with disaster or something like that, past empires, which is very reminiscent of Distant Worlds. I've said it before, to me, this game is a slimmed down Distant Worlds. It's a little bit simpler, it's got a better user interface, and it's prettier, but not quite as all-encompassing as Distant Worlds was. So there's kind of some trade-offs there, but I think it does a very good job. Like I said, I learned the game in a little bit under an hour, so it's certainly something that is approachable and easy to pick up and use. Now, again, this isn't a full-blown review. I'm not talking about everything that I'm doing, but it has things like leaders, which is similar to Hearts of Iron, where you choose different leaders to run different parts of your government. You need to choose governors for your different provinces and your different colonies that you take over. In addition to taking over new planets, when you go to a colonizable world, and you'll see that probably on the screen in a little bit, you have the ability to upgrade hexes, clear out terrain, build new mines, and it's all based on pops. So it's a similar mechanic to the way that Crusader Kings worked, where you can upgrade your cities within your kingdom. In addition to that, the game has diplomacy, which seems a little bit half-baked, as usual for most of these kind of games. And it has that sort of tech tree research that I mentioned that's somewhat randomized. All in all, the game feels great. I'm not a huge 4X player. I played a little bit of Distant Worlds, but it was a little bit too much for me. So it seems like a game that's easily approachable, that as a non-4X strategy gamer, I can really get into and really enjoy. As far as the channel is concerned, I've been debating doing this, and I'm kind of interested in your guys' feedback. I'm really tempted to try and do some sort of fantasy roleplay type series. I know it's not history per se, so I can't play through the game and say, oh, this historical event happened and then this and that, as I can with some of my historical games. But I'm tempted to try and create some sort of historical fiction and kind of role play through my series. Now, that could be very boring as well. I've got over an hour of footage recorded from this game that I just started, and I don't envision cutting too much out via editing. In the game, you can accelerate your game speed so that things happen much more rapidly, but I much prefer playing the game on normal speed, which is a little bit slow, if I'm being honest. So it's certainly possible that if I was to do this kind of a Let's Play, it would get boring. I'm not the greatest fiction writer either, and when I say not the greatest, I mean pretty terrible. So it's going to be difficult for me to really spin a compelling yarn, but it'd be interesting to try, to kind of take what's happening in the game and create a fictional universe around it. I don't think too much will happen while I'm talking here. In addition to your generals, as I mentioned earlier, you recruit different generals or scientists or whatnot. They can level up based on experience from combat or from researching different territories, so that's something also worth calling out. But all in all, the game feels really fun, feels really approachable. From what I've heard from most reviewers, the early game is a blast, and that's what you're seeing here. The mid-game can slog a bit, so the main criticism of Stellaris is that the mid-game I think is probably the case with most of these kind of 4X games, but the mid-game can kind of slow down and kind of get overwhelming and feel kind of like a slog. And then the end game is kind of hit or miss. It has, I think from what I hear, it has somewhat of a twist ending, but I'm not sure because I haven't gotten anywhere near there. But at least my initial impressions of the game are fairly positive. I've put 5 hours into it in just 3 days so far, and that was with 3 hours in one session and 2 hours in another. Didn't have time the other day, and I envision myself putting a lot more time into it going forward. But what I'm interested to hear from you guys, it's unlikely I would do it as a live stream. It would probably be movies on demand. But what I'm interested is if you guys would enjoy hearing more about the series that I'm playing through now, and it would be less gameplay, like here's what I'm doing and here's why. Maybe there will be a little bit of that. And it would be more kind of almost like a historian telling the history of his planet as time goes on and as we explore more, more territories. I almost am tempted to do it like a diary type series, like diary entries from the various, relevant characters involved. But I'm also not a fiction writer either, so it could be very bad. But I'm interested in trying. So again, I'm interested in what you guys have to say, what you think about that, if you think that makes sense. Or if you think that sounds like a horrible idea. I still think it fits within the genre of my channel, which is mainly strategy and war games. It's certainly a strategy game and has elements of war games, although there is no real history to it. I could try and kind of create my own history, and that's where I'm kind of coming from it, and kind of thinking that it might be fun to do, is to have the historical gamer, myself, create my own history for my empires I'm going through and almost kind of capture my commentary as if it is a documentary, or as if it maybe more so as if it's a kind of audio history, like these figures are leaving these memoirs, and it's kind of an audio thing done while you watch me play the game. So I'm really interested in what you guys have to say about that, if that sounds like something that might be interesting or appealing to you. I don't think this will be too long of a video because, my initial impressions are really positive. I think it's really neat. You can do things like upgrading facilities, upgrading colonies, upgrading territories, building your fleet, going around to different galaxies and researching them and mining them, and attempting to overall expand your kingdom. At that level, it sounds simple, but it's a lot of fun. And I don't have a lot of real negatives to share or detailed, like, here, don't do this or do that, because I still am so new to the game. It does feel in lockstep and like it has a lot of commonality with Paradox games in general, but it also feels unique and interesting and something that's worth checking out. We'll see if it sticks. We'll see if you guys are interested in that series. I certainly want to hear back from you, and you all let me know what you think. But I'm also not going to kind of drag this video on because, frankly, if I do go that whole storytelling route, then what's the use if I get, 2 years into my game while I'm kind of just chatting around here and then, try and explain it from there. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll cut this video off here. I'll wait for your feedback. You guys can let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm off base with Stellaris. Oh, but one quick thing before I do go ahead and end the series is I did also want to mention that one thing that's kind of inspiring me is a book called 70s, which is written by Neil Stephenson. It's kind of about a hypothetical end-of-world situation and humanity trying to flee to the stars. In many ways, it's similar to a lot of 4X games out there, and I may review that. So what I will do with this video is I will, even if I go that role-playing route where I'm telling the story, there may be times where I take, where there's not a lot going on in the game, and I just use 30 minutes of the footage to discuss a book review or something related to that. Because I'm not a huge, sci-fi fan. I don't talk a ton about sci-fi books, but there's a few books out there that I might want to review or talk about in this kind of a series. One of them may end up being 70s, depending on how I feel about the book in the end, and another would be something like the Human Reach series by, I think it was John Lumpkin, which is almost like a Tom Clancy Red Storm Rising type deal in space, and supposedly, I'm not a physicist, but supposedly is very accurate. From a physicist standpoint, I think he's actually in the process of getting his doctorate in physics and has 2 books out. He's working on a 3rd, but it's not out yet. So I may review those kind of books intermixed with the storytelling, and would just kind of preface by saying, hey, here's where we are in the series, but this particular video is going to be a book review. So I may, take Stellaris footage, mix it in with book reviews, and also mix it in with this kind of a role play of my empire as things progress. This is going to be a little bit shorter of a video, odd for a YouTuber to say short when it's, like 17 minutes. But, I think I just wanted to let you know what I'm thinking, and I'm really interested in hearing your all's feedback, so please let me know. But otherwise, yeah, I'll just go ahead and cut it off here, and I'll sip some Tullamore Dew while I play some Stellaris and wait to hear back from you guys about what you think would be, a cool direction to take. But with that said, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.